Nicole here with Job Hunt Solutions, and in today's video we're going to look at the anatomy of an interview-winning resume. So your resume as a job seeker is your main marketing material, and its main purpose is to help you get an interview. So we're going to take a look at all of the different elements of your resume and what you need to help you get that interview. So as I've mentioned in a previous video, which you can find right up about here, is the notion of above the fold. So basically that just says that the first half to 2/3 of the first page of your resume is the most important piece of real estate. So at the very top of the first page of your resume, you should have your name, address, telephone number, and email address. Otherwise, the person who's reading your resume isn't going to know who you are. Now, don't put this in the header of your resume because a lot of the systems, the ATS systems that recruiters use, can't really read that section very well. Some of them do, some of them don't. So you're best just to err on the side of caution on this one. Now, of course, with your name, you want to have your address with your zip code or postal code, because a lot of times recruiters will do what's called a proximity search, and that's going to be based on your postal code or zip code. Next is your telephone number. Your telephone number is your telephone number, but just make sure that your voicemail, your outgoing message on your voicemail, is professional and not something too jokey or too lighthearted, because that might give the wrong impression to a potential employer. Next is your email address. Again, you want to make sure that your email address is professional. Try not to use your work email address unless, of course, you're applying to roles internal to your organization. But just try to refrain from things that are maybe a little bit more colorful, such as flyboy@hotmail.com. It's not really going to look great on a resume. You may actually want to set up a separate email address just for job seeking. This way, it'll just help you keep organized. The next section of your resume would be the objective or professional summary. Now, my recommendation would be to use professional summary as opposed to objective. The word objective gives the reader and sometimes the writer the idea and the thought process that this is a section for putting down what it is that you're looking for as a job seeker. But the purpose of the resume is to gain an interview. The employer doesn't really care what it is that you're looking for. They're really more interested in what it is that you can provide them. What are the skills that you bring to the table? So that's why I would recommend using a professional summary. Your professional summary should be maybe 3, maybe 4 lines, just sort of summarizing your experience. Now, in a previous video that I have right here, I talk about how to tailor this. This is a prime section of your resume that is easily tailorable to the roles to which you're applying. But the idea here really with your professional summary is to talk about, or to summarize rather, your resume in terms of what it is that you have, your skill set, your background, your unique career story as it relates to the job and the organization. Next, if you have, say, 5 or more years of experience, you may want to put down some of your key accomplishments. Again, this is still in the above the fold section of your resume. So if you have some really key career accomplishments that are relevant to the role, this might be a great place to summarize those as well and have them front and center. Again, this section is easily tailorable to the role to which you're applying. If, on the other hand, you are a technical person, so somebody who's in IT or engineering, you can use this next section just below your professional summary to highlight some of your technical skills. So as an example, if you're an IT person, you might say that you have advanced skills in C# or Java or whatever, and maybe intermediate skills in Ruby on Rails or Perl. Something like that you can really highlight some relevant knowledge and experience and skills that you have for the role. The next section is your experience. Now, this is the meat of your resume, and you should be able to have this on at least the first page of your resume to begin this section. Your experience section should be in reverse chronological order, where you list the companies that you've worked for, your job titles, and the dates. So starting date, month and year, ending date, month and year. You want to sort of give a high level of the duties that you've had, but you start your duties off, you know, if you're going to use bullet points as an example, by using action words. Try not to use phrases or words that begin with I or we. As an example, instead of saying, I trained new hires on the systems that we use, you could rephrase this to say, delivered systems training to new hires. By starting off with an action word, this gives a lot more impact to the duties and the responsibilities that you had. Underneath your duties, you can also highlight some of your accomplishments, so your key accomplishments in the role. This will highlight that not only do you have experience in a particular area, but you've done this role really well by highlighting some of your accomplishments. The next section would be your education. Now, if you are a new graduate, you might want to put this much higher in your resume, ideally just below your professional summary. But for your education, you can be reasonably brief with this, highlighting the institution, the date of graduation, and your degree, and maybe even the areas that you focused in your studies. In addition to your formal education, you may also want to highlight some of your professional development courses that you may have taken. This section can get really long, however, so be sure to streamline this as much as possible. Next, if you have any volunteer experience, you can put that here. Again, just highlighting your community involvement, the organization that you volunteered for, and maybe the responsibilities you've done, as well as the dates that you were involved in these community events. And finally, if you have additional skills and experience that you want to call out, so things like if you're bilingual or know multiple languages, etc., then you can put that here. Just be really sure that you're not sharing too much information. You want to make sure that it's professional and relevant to the role. As a final thought and a final note, some people like to put at the very bottom of their resume that references are available upon request. This actually goes without saying. This was a very popular thing to add to a resume about 20 years ago or so, but nowadays it's really not necessary, as it kind of goes without saying, so there's no need to mention it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful and you liked this video, please press like and subscribe and share it with your friends. If you have any questions, video ideas, or would like to collaborate, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Facebook, email, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever works for you. And of course, for personalized advice, come on over to my website and I'd be happy to help. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy hunting!